Hello, my dear souls. Today I want to talk to you about one question that I received in relation to the Akashic Records and what we can do in the Akashic Records. Somebody asked something similar to this, like, is it not dangerous to go into the Akashic Records when you're not ready, when you don't have your ego in check, because you might change something in the Akashic Records in terms of your karma, or you might create something, you might disturb whatever is there. And this is what I would like to address today from my perspective, okay? As always, whoever you listen to, it is just one perspective you're listening to, no matter how wise they are, no matter how far up the ladder they seem to be, it is just one perspective of the whole thing. And I'm going to give you mine, which means this is according to my inner guidance, right? To how I work with the Akashic Records and how I perceive it to be. And for like one thing that I want to address first is that very often when we speak about the Akashic Records, we have in mind this kind of topic of karma, and mainly negative karma, and karma that kind of is still attached to us in this life, and things that we have to go through or that we have to deal with, or like that, right? Which is partly true, but also what comes up more and more in recent years is not just the negative karmic patterns that are there, but also the positive ones, which means more and more people who are waking up at this time, they remember, and remember is not exactly the right word, because it's not like remembering a memory, but they sense that something, let's say positive, in terms of maybe talent, in terms of experiences they may have had previously in previous lives, that these skills or these positive energies, they come up again in this lifetime. And for them it's nearly like, oh, I remember, that's part of me, I have done this before, or I have held this position before, I have so the positive aspect of karma, the positive energy of the Akashic Record, of your experiences in the Akashic Record, they are coming forward more and more. Now that's my perception, right? Which also means when I do readings or sessions with people and get information from the Akashic Records, I see, and now at this stage I even ask specifically, because it has come up so often before, I actually ask for specific positive karmic patterns in their Akashic Records to be shown to me, that they can draw and pull out from these experiences the resources that they may want to use, or that they can use in this lifetime. And now in relation to accessing the records and then messing something up in the records, for me it's a bit like, if something is recorded, it's recorded, which means whatever happened in the past happened. That's what happened. And the energetic frequency of what happened in the past, in a previous life, is that frequency. In my perception and in my experience, it is not an option to say, I'm accessing the Akashic Records and I'm going to change that lifetime, that energy of that lifetime. Now that's for me. Maybe you have a different experience and you're welcome to actually share it. We can have a discourse about it. And I might even have a different perspective in 10 years' time. From where I'm standing right now, that is not how it works for me. It is a sacred space, right? The Akashic Records, which means your intentions and your energy are guiding the way into there. If your intentions are not clear, if your intentions are not pure or good, of a good nature, of a positive nature, constructive nature, honest nature, what you will get back in terms of information from the Akashic Records will not be accurate. It will be resonating or in resonance with what you're putting out there. So this also goes for reading other people. If you read somebody else's records and your internal world is not of a high vibration, what you get back can be very confusing, inaccurate, all over the place, dark, all this kind of stuff, right? And you might share this then with the person, but it is not what is actually in their records. And that's why I'm always saying as well, it is so important for anybody who wants to access the records. Like you might have seen my tutorial on how to access the Akashic Records. I give 4 methods, right? I can link it actually in the information box, wherever, in the information box. You can try this with different methods. But what I will say is that your internal growth process, where you're at consciously, like on a consciousness level, will be the determination point, nearly like the access portal of you getting into the records and whatever is coming then towards you in terms of information. Which means, like, what I mean by this specifically is, if you have not done much work, like much spiritual work, much growth work within you, if you don't know yourself well, if you're still very much entangled with your ego, if you haven't distinguished yet really properly between your ego voice and higher voice, or from other sources, right, the input from other sources, it's going to be very difficult for you, to access the records. And you might have experiences, you might have the intention, I'm going to say this prayer, or I'm going to do a visualization, and then I'm in the records and off I go. But where you are on an awareness level and on a vibrational level within yourself will determine what you get from the records, how accurate it will be, how helpful it will be, and you cannot cheat in there. You cannot pretend, you cannot lie, you cannot, right? It is the way it is. So it goes hand in hand with your own internal process. Which also means that if you think you can go in there and change a past life with the intention of, I'm going to change that past life because I know, or somebody has told me that energies or karma from that past life where I did this and this, right? Karma is often being seen as kind of a punishment system, which it isn't, but I'm not going to get into this now. But like, let's clear this karma then, and so I'm free here now. Because that intention is very selfish, and that intention is not wise. It doesn't have the greater perspective of, oh, the learnings from that past life were these and these. Now in this life, I've discovered that certain patterns have repeated. Now I'm aware of it, because you may have gotten this from the Akashic Records, or you may have felt it or realized it yourself, right? So now what am I going to do with it? And instead of saying, oh, let's just erase what happened, pretend it never happened, that's not honorable, right? And you can even feel the energy. And you cannot cheat the Akashic Records. You cannot cheat the universe, because you're connected to it. It's part of you. It's not even out there. It's not records written, actually. It's part of you, of your system. It's in your DNA. It's within you. You live with it every day. It's a part of your makeup. It is. And therefore, you cannot just go off somewhere, erase it, write something different, and then come back here and you live your life happily. It doesn't work like that. You also can't escape your own process and your own responsibility for your path. And you don't need to escape that anyway. So that's what I would say. So for anyone fearing, oh, if you don't have your ego in check, or you're not that evolved yet and you access the records, it's dangerous because you destroy something in there. In my view, that's not possible. But you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to do something like that, right? If intentionally you were trying to do it. What could just happen is that whatever you get back from the records, if you were to access or trying to access them from a lower vibrational state and not in alignment at all, it just wouldn't be helpful to you. It wouldn't be wise, it wouldn't be helpful, and you would even sense it. Like if you're in any way sensitive, you would sense that this vibration and that this energy, no, is not the right thing. So, and yeah, that's kind of it. And again, going back to, but how do we use the Akashic Records then? And again, this is a label, right? Akashic Records. It's a label that we use, a word, a term that we use for, in my perspective, a field, not a place. It's a field, like the universal field, like the energy field we're all part of. It's a field, but like more maybe like a specific area or frequency of the whole universal field, if that makes sense. So if your intention is to access specific information about past lives of your soul here on earth, this is where you would place your intention. I go into the section of the whole field where this information is stored, but it's still part of the field and it's still always part of you. Like your history and your future are within you already. And we can choose what we want to access within that field. And how we can utilize the information to enhance this life, to enrich this life, to grow in this life. Because it's not just about nosiness and curiosity and finding out different things. Oh, I've been this or I've done that. That doesn't matter. What you do with this matters. And so in accessing the records, you are the key factor. Not a skill, not a prayer, not an assumption. Yes, you need to believe you can access them, otherwise you won't. But other than that, it's you. You yourself are the door to the records. You don't need to find the door. You are it. And in order to experience the information, which is very lucid, correctly, you need to be in that vibration. You need to be within that consciousness. And therefore, in my view, there are also many, many people who say they're accessing the records, but they aren't, because they haven't even risen to the consciousness level that they need to or grow. And that's not judgmental. I don't mean it in a judgmental way or condescending. Everybody is wherever they're at, and they're at the perfect place at the perfect time in terms of their development. But some people want it too fast. They haven't done the work yet. They haven't done the search yet. They don't know who they really are internally, but they want to access the records. And yes, the records can help you find out who you really are, but your own search needs to be independent of things like that. And you can go to someone who actually does access the records and tells you something about you that will be helpful then for your own journey. And in time, you might be able then to get that information for yourself about yourself. But it requires that you get to know yourself inside out. Who are you? What are you? Why? Right? You need to know who you are. You cannot run away from yourself, but you want to access the records. That's not possible. It's possible on the journey to yourself. That's possible. But that requires commitment. It requires more than just reading a prayer and saying, oh, the energy is being transmuted when I say this prayer and off I go. But what you can also do as a first step, if the Akashic Records are something you're interested in, but you're not sure, or you may feel you're not ready yet, or that you wouldn't know whether the information was correct or not, what you can always do is work with your higher self. And work with your higher self first, which means connect to your soul, connect to your higher self, which is part of you, okay? So it will feel very familiar what comes through, but your intention could be to connect to the wisdom of your higher self first and ask your higher self questions first and establish a bond and a kind of a familiarity with your greater self, with your soul state. Because from that soul state, accessing the records is a little step in my experience. Because you're vibrationally, in order to communicate with your higher self and invite it in, you need to get kind of to a higher vibrational state, and because your higher self is vibrating higher, like it is including you, but generally there is more of a high vibration there. So in order for you to experience it better, you need to raise your vibration. And this is always like, how do I do it? And I've done a video or two on that as well, so you can check that out. So that's what you can do first, and then get confident in what comes through is from the higher realms, from your soul, because it speaks in a kind of a wise way or manner where you go, I wouldn't talk to myself like that, so this sounds very authentic, this sounds interesting. And the more you connect to your higher self, the more often you are in partnership, or even allowing your higher self to come through you to your life situation, right? The easier it is to do things like accessing the Akashic Records, or channeling, or psychic abilities. That is all a combination of who you become, not the skills you learn. Yeah, there's certain type of techniques you can use, but it's a process of becoming the entity, the human being, with all these expanded talents and characteristics and possibilities that we can have, that we can do things that we can do, like telepathy and all that kind of stuff. And that is possible, but it has to be a part of you, and you need to be ready to receive it, and you need to be ready to express it and live it. Therefore, you need to develop into that, which you already are. You just make yourself, you make an area of yourself available to you that you access then. You already are all that. You are telepathic, you are psychic, you are communicating with loved ones that have gone, you are channeling, this is all already in place. Just the way you are, past, present, and future, already here. It's already here. It's just a matter of how to unlock it, how to connect with those aspects of yourself that can already do this, that are already that. Which means, like, you become very clear on how and who you want to be. Okay? Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you for today, and we'll talk next time.